Greetings, I'm Pillar Nexus, the Ancient Gladiator, today with Pillar Loves Tabletop Games. Today's episode, the recently released Monsters Menace the World. If you remember Monsters Menace America, or even before that, Monsters Ravage America, you'll feel a little familiar, but with some differences. As part of the setup for the game, you'll have your choice of monster and a randomly drawn minion card. Your monster will be represented with an actual figure. Your minion will be represented with a cardboard token. You'll also start with a military of your choice. Regardless of the number of players, these military units will always start in play. Anyone not controlling them, any military that's not controlled by a player will just defend itself. Players will take their tokens for health and put them on their starting value up on this tracker. Their tokens for Infamy and start them at 0 up here. And their military units defeated trackers and put them on 0 down here. One little extra thing I've done for the setup is put the mutation cubes on the mutation sites as a little visual reminder. Hey, this is where you can go to mutate your monster. Anyway, once everything's set up, with the first player choosing their monster and military, and all the military pieces set up, the first player chooses their layer. And it's a layer because it's got the little skull, little monster skull. And there'll be 5 potential layers you can start at in the course of the game. On your turn, you'll do the following. You will move. So your monsters, minions, and military will have a little arrow showing their movement value. Monsters can always move across land or sea. They can end their move there, wherever. However, if they encounter anything hostile, they have to stop. Military units are hostile to all monsters and minions, but not other military units. Monster and minion on the same side are not hostile to each other, but are hostile to other monsters and minions. Military units have a stacking limit of 5, regardless of allegiance, or regardless of what faction they're part of. For every space that has hostile forces and your stuff, you're going to have to fight. So let's go and do the movement phase for Conk. So Conk can move up to 3. 1, 2, 3. Pollen Dust can move up to 4. She's going to stop over here to use her power there. And then since I've got control of the Mediterranean Coalition, and start moving the blue military units somewhere else. Military units will be either land only or ocean only, or they will be fighters that can cross over the water but have to land on land. So want to make New York City a little bit easier for my guy. So, rocket launcher will go up here. To get my stuff away from the very valuable mutation site. Or I might want to leave it there to discourage them from trying. In fact, let's reinforce that for now. If I ever need to get it myself, I know what to do. Let's stay here. We'll reinforce this. Might as well just keep protecting this too. Alright. And then resolving fights. So, here, Conk fights rocket launcher. Now, Conk has special ability. Like every monster will have their own special ability. He gets +1 to hit fighters and +1 defense against rocket launchers. So your stats from top to bottom: health, how much damage you can take before you're defeated. You can get more health up to a maximum of 25. Movement is the arrow, so you can move the 3 spaces. The claw is attacks. That's how many dice are going to roll. You'll have to assign your dice to your targets before you roll, though. Defense. Someone has to roll over that number to hit the monster. Or to hit that target. And finally, the burst is damage. Most military units in general just killed in one hit. Monsters are going to be considerably tougher. The minions are somewhere in between. So here, Conk fights the rocket launcher. Battle has the following stages to it: preemptive attack, monster attack, which is the active monster minions. The monster counterattack, where inactive monsters and minions each attack once. And military units. And then victory or retreat. If hostile forces remain, the attacker has to retreat. If Conk can't stop the one freaking rocket launcher, he's just gonna have to walk away. So, let's get to it. Rocket launchers will have their special ability of preemptive attack. So that one die needs to beat Conk's defense, which is now a 4 because of his special ability. So a 5 or better. Hey. Conk's taking 2 damage to the face. So his health is up here. There we go. 1, 2. And then the active monster will attack. And he's going to do his best to wreck the crap out of that rocket launcher. And he does. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Okay. When you defeat a military unit with a monster, you'll go up the defeated military units track. And that goes back to the defending player or just outside the game until it gets deployed again. Okay. If you defeat monsters with your monsters, you'll get Infamy. if you defeat monsters with your minion, you'll get a little bit less. If you defeat a monster or minion with only military units, you get 0. But if your monster is defeated by military units, you will lose 2 infamy. Anyway, so at the end of that fight, got nothing special to do. Paul and Dust isn't fighting anybody. I decided not to launch any attacks against Tomonagi. So, with all the fights done, unless the active monster retreated, it encounters its space by either stomping the military base. You'll know it's a military base because it'll have one of the military faction symbols on it, which will then summon 2 tanks of that military to that space. Or to the same continent, but a different space. And doing that will get the Monster 3 Infamy. So if I'd gone over here instead, I could have made it. Could have crushed the military base. Alternatively, you can stomp a city. Los Angeles is right here. Conk thinks they deserve it. It gets you infamy based on the number. And then it gets you health based on, I want to say, double that number. Yeah, you'll get health back, or health based on double the number. You can choose to not take up to 2 of that to heal your minion. Your minion cannot go above their starting health. And finally, you can use a military site as your counter. Or use a mutation site. So, what clues you into it being a mutation site is it has a name, it doesn't have the number, it doesn't have the military symbol, it's not a layer. The only thing that kind of clues you into anything being a mutation site is on the icons showing Giza as a potential and saying art varies. So what you'll do is you'll take a stomp token. At the start of the game, there were a number of stomp tokens set aside equal to number of players plus 1 times 4. So in a 2-player game, it's 12. Because this is what determines the end of the game. We stomp Roswell, and then we make a roll on the mutation chart. So for Conk, 1 is Berserk. During a battle on your turn, you may roll 4 extra attacks, but your attacks are -1 to hit. It's possible to roll the number you already rolled again, in which case you treat it as a 5 and choose one of the above. If you roll a 6, you draw a minion and put it into play at any layer. If you have 2 minions already and you roll a 6 again, you treat it as a 5. So there, Conk can get even angrier. Okay. Finally, you get to deploy. Take up to 3 of your military units at unstopped cities on your home continents, or unstopped military bases anywhere in the world. All the military bases are intact, so those are viable. But the home continents for the Mediterranean Coalition are Europe and Africa. I have access to rocket launchers with their preemptive attack, tanks, which are tough, or submarines. Submarines have the option of either being out in the ocean attacking onto the shore, or deployed as a cruise missile. It is a once per game thing you can do per. It is a once per turn in general, and a once per game per that you can do for with your cruise missiles. At the end of the deploy phase, you fire in a monster within 3 spaces. If you hit it does 3 damage. However, if you roll a 1 to hit, the monster gets a free mutation. It's risky, because then you don't have this anymore. It's an option. Figure out if you're going to need it or not. Alternatively, you can roll on the research table. It's like a mutation, but for the military. Special abilities or potential unit deployment. Yeah. Limited to 1 unit per space. So if you think you've got enough military units out there, maybe take the chance on research. But if you really think you need to reinforce certain stuff better, then maybe focus on deployment instead. Regardless, after deployment, it is the next player's turn to the left, and the game will continue on until the last stomp is placed. So you'll get some bonus infamy for having any surviving minions. Every 2 total mutations or upgrades. If you're above your starting health, and then for every 5 defeated military units. It does not mention any tiebreakers, which is kind of annoying. Always put in something for a potential tiebreaker. Something else that might happen is your monster gets defeated. In addition to losing the 2 infamy, you'll have to come back to the world. If your minion's defeated, they're out of the game. Otherwise, your monster will lay on its side. You'll have to remove 3 stomp tokens from the set aside pile from the game to basically cut the time down. At the start of your next turn, you'll have to place them on a layer space on a continent other than where they were defeated. So, back here, over here, over here. If we were defeated, over here. If possible, it has to be a space that doesn't have any military units. If there are no options of that nature, then you just deploy your monster and you'll have to fight whatever's there. Yep. And that's pretty much it. It should cover everything, I hope. So I picked up the game again. I picked up this game because I remember fondly Monsters Menace America. And I thought, okay, cool. They're kind of bring back the concept, make it global, sort of like Eldritch Horror did for Arkham Horror. And it looks interesting. It does feel like a little bit much on the mutations and running the military and all that. So I'm not 100% sure whether or not I like this game. So I'm still going to play it. But the one thing that just kind of generally bothers me about this is the price. So according to one of the discussion things on BGG, there was a note that they had to raise their MSRP due to tariffs, bringing it to after sales tax here about $70. When I look at this game, I don't see $70 worth of stuff though. The component count is like 70, 100, somewhere between 1 and 200 components. It is between all the plastic and the card. Is it really worth that? I don't know. I kind of wish they had done the minions also as miniatures, but also make it clear that they're not as prominent as the monsters. I wish they'd made it a little more crystal clear. Hey, this is what we mean by mutation sites. And the fact that it's still 4 players, when I regularly see our groups end up in like 5-player range, feels like we haven't learned much from the past. But it does seem like a lot of silly fun times to just go stomping around the world and fighting and stuff. Getting into the point where you can actually fight your opponent's monsters is worth trying to set up. Go get your mutation, go get your health up. Just go back and forth on kicking each other's ass. And to that end, that I would think is cool. But again, I have to wonder if the cost is really worth it at this point. The older game can still be found on eBay for like a decent price too. If you prefer a little bit less for a little bit older game. Not that some people haven't tried gouging the price on some older copies, but those ones are few and far between from what I see. But in the meantime, if you're curious, do check it out. If you think it's worth the $70 to have the globe hopping game of monster whoop ass. Oh yeah, the art style is kind of interesting, really. I get very wild vibes. But yeah, Monster Menace World. If someone else has a copy, maybe give it a try and see if it's worth picking up one of your own. Thanks very much for watching. This is Pillar Nexus. I'll see you next time.